My girlfriend, 27F, and I, 29M, opened our relationship a little over 2 years ago. Obviously, she had more success than I did, but I've had a couple of dates here and there. Non-monogamy isn't really a world for men with social anxiety. One of the rules that she wanted to establish was no emotions, just sex. While I accepted the rule, I said from the beginning that having absolutely no emotions isn't realistic. Inevitably, you will start to feel something for someone. Long story short, I was right. She met this guy, 27M, they developed feelings, we talked, and now we are a poly, I guess. Don't really know what to call it. Trouble doesn't seem right since he and I aren't dating. But neither of us guys have other partners outside of her. Anyway, we've had this structure for about 7 now and it's going fine. She seems to be happy. I just don't see what place I have in this relationship. Not sure if that place really even exists. In monogamy is much easier to see. It's only the two of you. But here, not so much. I'm happy that she's happy, but I don't really think needed. I've talked to many and researched things, but none of those arguments make sense to me. They may have sex with others, but y'all have an emotional bond in our case. She has one with both of us. As I think emotional connections are a dime a dozen. You have one at some point in everyone you date. Sexual chemistry is way more rare and usual, it's just there or it isn't. And from the unfortunate time that I walked into our apartment and didn't know he was there, it is very clear they have incredible sexual chemistry. Emotional connections can be developed anytime. So what security is there in that? Monogamy doesn't exist, sounds good, but not sure if that plays out well. Especially seeing that the only person not monogamous here is her. We are both basically in a monogamous relationship. And while you supposedly can't expect to get all you need from one person, that's exactly what we're supposed to do. But only from half of that person. Every connection is unique and special, maybe so, but ours clearly wasn't enough. She needed more. I didn't. I was happy and fulfilled. She wanted other experiences. But that stopped when she met him. And while I try not make it a competition, she clear has a level of passion for him that she doesn't for me. She won't have sex with me when he's around. I have to wait until he leaves. She asked me to leave when she wants to have sex with him. She isn't nearly as cuddly with me either. At this point, it feels like the only reason I'm around is because we are entangled. Money, lease, cars, etc. I also know that I'm here emotional support for hard stuff. Working in EMS, I've learned to stay calm and clear in high-stress situations. I'm also supporting her financially with schooling. But I'd like to be more than just an ATM and a security blanket. Don't really know what to do about all this. So much of what I've read talks about not comparing, just getting over jealousy, giving people autonomy, don't be attached/dependent, etc. Don't know where that leaves me. While not really relevant, I'm going through some significant health issues. It's uncertain if I'm going to make it through. She doesn't know about it. Haven't found a good time to say. Maybe that's why I'm just being emotional and insecure. I know both are terrible traits in a man. Anyway, I guess this just turned into a vent, but any thoughts or input is welcome. Edit. I'm a firefighter and hazmat tech. It's most likely that my health issues are related to a work incident. Therefore, the people I work with know. I have told any family or friends yet. At this point, I could come out most okay, or could have until the end of the year. I'm trying to wait until we know more. Edit 2. She and I live together. He has his own place, but has 3 male roommate. GF doesn't feel as comfortable there. Update 1. Hi all. I highly doubt anyone would remember my last post, or that anyone wanted an update, but here we are. I linked my previous post, but essentially I was processing unexpectedly becoming poly with my GF. Feel free to read it, but only if you don't have anything better to do. On to the update. Long story short, I pretty much ignored everyone's advice, grinning face with sweat. Not really. I do appreciate all the input that I got on my last post. But every time I wanted to broach the subject, either something got in the way or I just chickened out. She is still seeing the other guy. Let's call him Caleb. Life kinda sucked at first since they were mostly using our house to avoid his roommates, but this summer he got his own place. So they no longer meet at ours. Which is great because accidentally coming home when they are together is not great. Hearing your GF scream another guy's name takes a long-ass time to fade from memory. I've met the guy. He seems nice enough. Total opposite of me, so I see why she's so into him. Dude's like 6 feet 2 inches with that lean surfer boy type look. I'm like 5 feet 7 inches and shaped like a tree stump, haha. Anyway, so that problem pretty much solved itself. She stays with him about 3 to 4 nights a week. Occasionally, she'll stay over for a long weekend or even a week. They've even gone on a few trips together. TBH, part of me is jealous, but at the same time, I see how she looks at him. I just don't have the heart to get in the way of that. Unfortunately, our sex life has taken a bit of a dive. Not long after they started seeing each other, we stopped being intimate as often. We still are, but it's only like 1 to 2 times a week. Everyone got tested, and they've gone barrier-free. Supposedly, she was just tracking her cycle, but did have a pregnancy scare. So now she's on birth control. I'm not particularly happy. I mean, I'm happy she's happy, but this isn't really what I pictured for my life. I always imagined having this passionate, loving relationship where we were everything to each other. Sometimes I just feel like more of a connivance than a partner. It's pretty obvious she was never into me as much as she is him. That sucks, but can't change it. On the health front, unfortunately, I don't have great news to report. Turns out I do have cancer. It wasn't as aggressive as they thought, but it is terminal. At this point, I'm looking at somewhere around March. GF doesn't know. I know I'm an AH for that. I'll tell her eventually. She's just not around much, and when she is, I just want to be fun. I know I can't compete with Caleb, but I don't want to just be the sick one. I thought about just breaking up, but that seems mean. I recently saw Twilight for the first time. When I finished the part of Bella mourning Edward leaving, it made me wonder if she'd feel the same. TBH, I don't think she would. Caleb is pretty much primary at this point, so I'd rather be peaceful on the way out. When I do go, she'll have him. Work sucks because I can't ride the engine anymore. Once I got worn out walking up steps in bunker gear, I knew I can't fight fire anymore, so I'm just on the medic now. Anyway, that's it for now. Hope you'll have a happy holiday. Hug your loved ones tight. Relevant comments. Commenter. For God's sakes, man, tell this woman that you have terminal cancer. Not only is it the right and smart thing to do, but you need all the support you can get, and she deserves to know. Do that first. Like now. Opie. I know I should. I should have a long time ago. When I started having issues, she had just decided on the poly thing, and that was a lot to process for me. Then read about disentangling and not getting in your partner's way. Unfortunately, my character flaw took over and went all or nothing. Then as time went on, it just felt more and more awkward to do. Update 2. Thank you for the support and allowing me to use this as a space to vent. I do really appreciate it. As the title says, I finally told my GF about my health issues. It was a long, rough night. Saturday night we went on a date. Usually she'd be with Caleb, but he's out of town visiting family for the holiday. If he felt it was too early for her to meet his family or what, but I definitely thought I'd be alone for Christmas. But apparently she's staying here, so that's nice, I guess. We went to dinner and after, gotta go see Wicked. Not gonna lie, the dynamics between Glinda, the Munchkin dude, and the prince made me wince a bit. Felt kinda close to home, minus me stringing some poor girl along. Regardless, I did enjoy the movie a lot. We got home and curled up on the couch, and that's when we had our talk. Decided to withhold any info about how I've been feeling, as that felt pretty ancillary to the main topic. I basically just described how I had been sick more and tired. Then told her about my annual physical from last year and all the doctor's visits since. Then I finally told her about the diagnosis and having until March. To say that this was hard is an understatement. I don't think I've ever seen her cry that hard. Or anybody for that matter. What kind of reaction I was expecting, but not that. We kinda attempted to continue talking, but it was no use. So I just carried her to our room and held her until she cried herself to sleep. When I woke up Sunday morning, she wasn't in bed. My initial brain fog kind of forgot about what happened, but when I remembered, I went to find her. She was sitting at the table in the kitchen. She was still crying, but we were able to talk about everything. I told her about the bucket list, preparations I've made, etc. It was all smooth until she kinda jerked up, looked at me, and asked, "How long have you known?" It was at this point I knew I fudged up. As tempting as it was, I didn't lie. I told her I've known I would die for a year, and I found out when about 2 months back. OFC, she asked why I didn't tell her, and I didn't know what to say. She asked if I was trying to get back at her as some weird revenge, which kinda annoyed me a bit, but I let that go. I told her I was preoccupied with getting used to an open relationship, that it felt like it came out of nowhere, developed fast, became poly, and I was just being dragged along. That not having her around, hear them have sex, and watching her fall in love with someone else was hard enough. Predictably, she got pissed. Felt like I was blaming her for who she is, and a few more unpleasant things. At this point, I just listened as she yelled and screamed. She finished. I apologized for not telling her, but then asked, if this was all my issue, then how come your partner has been sick and dying for a year, and you never noticed? I immediately regretted saying that because she kinda just broke. She didn't cry. She just went silent and sat down on the floor. I tried to comfort her, but she pulled away. So at this point, I figured we needed space and I left. Went to a friend's house for the day. Sunday evening, I got a text from her asking me to come home. I did. When I got there, she had ordered food. When she saw me, she ran up and hugged me. At this point, we both cried. We ate and watched as it cake. Eventually, she paused the show, and we talked. She apologized for lashing out, said she was just angry and confused. I apologized for what I said. She told me not to, and that what I said is what she felt. So when it was out in the open, she just shut down. I told her that I love her and not to hold it against herself. At this point, she wanted to help me plan out the last few months. She also said that she'd be breaking up with Caleb, but I told her not to. If he actually loves her, she's gonna need his support. We will wait till after Christmas to fill him in. We talked more about plans and went to bed. Don't know what will come of this, but that's where we are now. Relevant comments. Commenter. While I admire your capacity for kindness, I would say I think you would be well within your rights in telling her to take a break from him while you are in these last few months. She may need his support, but you deserve a period of joy while you go through this, and I don't think he brings you joy. If he really loves her, he will understand and be there when the time comes. So sorry, man. This is awful, and I wish you a peaceful few months and all the happiness in this life and in whatever comes after it. Opie. She's planning to cut down on their time. Before she was with him for half of the week. Now she's talked like once a week or once every other. She hasn't talked to him yet, though, and that's a pretty big change, so how he'll react. Commenter. I mean, her other partner, you, is dying. That's the best reason to focus one's attention temporarily to that partner. If he doesn't understand this, then he's just not a very good human being. Opie. I agree, but I can't control how that plays out. How she'll be when the shock wears off. Update 3. Hey folks, guess I'm back again for another update. I wasn't really planning to post so soon, but a lot has happened in the past week. It's been intense. So first off, my girlfriend, let's call her A, decided she would tell Caleb about my diagnosis. She was really torn because she didn't want him to feel like she was blindsiding him. But since we'd already agreed he needed to know, we planned a night for all three of us to sit down and talk. I was not exactly thrilled about having another family meeting, but I figured facing it head-on was better than letting it linger. The night of the talk rolls around, and we're all gathered in our living room. It felt surreal, like a scene from a weird indie film. A looked at me for encouragement, then told Caleb straight up that I have terminal cancer and don't have long. He just kind of stared at me for a moment. Honestly, I wasn't sure if he was going to hug me or punch me in the face. In the end, he just stammered a lot of questions about my treatment, my prognosis, how long I've known. The usual. It got awkward when he asked why he was only hearing about this now. He turned to A like, "You never noticed anything?" And she started crying again. I basically said, "Look, this wasn't exactly at the top of my priority list when you two were, exploring your love life." No one laughed, but I guess it broke some tension because Caleb relaxed after that. We ended up talking for like 2 hours. He said he wants to do whatever is needed to make this right. That sounded nice, but I don't know what making it right even means in this situation. Either way, he gave me a fist bump as he left, which was weirdly comforting. Since then, A's been trying really hard to be here for me. I can tell she's feeling guilty that she didn't notice how serious my situation was. She's cooking more, cleaning more, and constantly asking if I'm okay. Part of me appreciates it, but another part of me hates it. Feels like she's overcompensating. I can't help wondering if she's doing this because she truly wants to, or if she's just freaked out by the finality of all this. On top of that, she's cut her time with Caleb down to 1 night a week, sometimes less. It makes me feel weirdly relieved, but also kind of trapped, like I'm some tragic center of attention. We haven't fought about it, but there's this unspoken tension in the air that wasn't there before. And as for me, my health is holding steady for the moment. I'm on light duty at work, basically babysitting the med truck and filling out training logs. The guys at the station act normal when I'm around, but I know they're talking behind my back, waiting for the day I can't show up at all. That's basically where we are. I don't know if A and I will come out of this closer, or if we'll crumble under the weight. I keep asking myself if I should feel lucky to have support or resentful that it took a death sentence to get it. Anyway, that's the update for now. Sorry if it's a bit scattered. There's a lot to figure out, and I'm too exhausted to see the path ahead. Guess we'll find out together. Thanks for reading. Not sure if there'll be a next time, but if there is, well, I'll let you know. Update 4. Hey everyone, it's me again. I realize this is my 3rd update in a short time, but life's been on overdrive. I wanted to share what might be my final post before things get complicated. A lot has happened since I last wrote. My girlfriend, A, and I decided we needed a quick reset. So we booked a weekend trip to a cozy cabin by a lake, just the two of us. It was supposed to be a chance to reconnect without the drama of daily life or the awkwardness of third wheels. Honestly, going in, I was skeptical. Part of me thought, why bother if I'm dying soon? But another part of me still craves those moments where we actually feel like a team. The cabin was beautiful big windows overlooking the lake, a fire pit, and a worn-out hammock that squeaked every time you touched it. We spent the first day just talking. Told me again how sorry she was for not seeing the warning signs. We went over some of my bucket list ideas, random stuff like riding in a hot air balloon, learning to dance salsa, maybe even taking a train across the country. It felt surreal discussing all these future plans while also knowing my clock's winding down. Night fell, and we made a fire. Snuggled closer than she has in months, and we just watched the flames flicker. I'd love to say it was perfect, but it also felt heavy, like a silent understanding that everything's changed. Sometime around midnight, she finally asked me point blank if I wanted her to break it off with Caleb for good. She said she'd do it if it would bring me peace. I was quiet for a while. The old me would have wanted that. It felt like a chance to finally have her all to myself again. But staring into that fire, I realized that even if she did break up with him, I'd always wonder if it was just out of guilt. I told her no, I couldn't ask that of her. If she stays with me solely out of pity, it's not real. We just sat there, not sure if we were relieved or devastated. The second day, we decided to be adventurous. We rented a tiny boat with a questionably functional motor and puttered across the lake. The engine sputtered a few times, and honestly, I was half expecting a comedic meltdown in the middle of the water. But we actually made it to this hidden cove. It was quiet, except for some distant birds. We just floated there, letting the sun burn our noses, not saying much. Somehow, the silence felt more honest than any words we could force out. As for Caleb, he's been texting me supportive stuff like, "If you need anything, bro, I'm here." It's weird, but I guess it's sincere. I'm still wary he's the guy who took a huge piece of A's heart. But at this point, I don't have the energy to hate him. If he makes her happy when I'm gone, maybe that's enough. Now, the real kicker. I got some test results back right before we drove to the cabin. They're not good. The cancer spread faster than they expected. My doc said that without an experimental treatment, I might not see March. With it, I might squeak by a few more months. I haven't told her yet. She's been on emotional overload, and I didn't want to crush her right after we finally found some kind of truce. We drove home from the cabin last night. The entire ride, we held hands, which might sound minor, but we haven't done that in ages. By the time we pulled into our driveway, it felt like 1,000 words had passed between us without a single one spoken out loud. She looked at me with this mix of fear and determination. I've never seen her so serious. I don't know what happens next. Maybe I'll try the experimental treatment and manage a little more time. Maybe I won't. A and I talked about me quitting work completely and taking off somewhere warm, but it's all still up in the air. If anything, that uncertainty feels more honest than pretending we've got it all figured out. Anyway, I guess that's it. Sorry for the long post. I wanted to give you a final glimpse of where things stand. Whether I last 2 months or 2 years, I know this relationship, whatever it's called, will keep twisting in ways I can't predict. Take care of yourselves, hug the people you love, and try not to blink too fast. You might miss something that could have changed your whole life. I'm out for now.